Hello and welcome to Civil War Digital Digest. I'm Andy, and today we're on location in Fremont, Ohio for our Out of the Vault series. For those of you who haven't seen it, Out of the Vault is our chance to go to a museum and invite them to pull some items out of their collection that they don't normally get a chance to display, whether they don't have enough room or it doesn't fit with the rest of the displays in the museum. Today, we're here at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library, and I'm here with Kevin Moore, the Curator of Artifacts. And Kevin, what do we have here today?
Well, Andy, we have a ballot box, and this is from 1863. There was an election in Ohio for governor in October of 1863, and Ohio law permitted soldiers to cast their ballots while in the field. So at Camp White, this ballot box was placed in camp, and the soldiers were allowed to vote for their choice for governor.
Do you know who was running that year?
So you have the Republican candidate whose name is John Brough, and then you have the Union Democrat candidate who is Clement Vallandigham. There was a lot riding on this election, and Rutherford really felt strongly that this was an important election, and he equates it to the equivalent of a battle in a military sense, except this is playing out in politics. There was concern that if the Peace Democrat gets elected, they are going to start withholding funding, withholding troops, and really hindering the war effort. So it was very important to a lot of Union soldiers, including Colonel Hayes at the time, that the Republican candidate win this election.
And Vallandigham had quite the reputation on the national level, too, right?
Yeah, he had been exiled. I believe that he was running his campaign out of Canada in part. He has a very interesting history, including his death, actually.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about the artifact itself here. What can you tell us about the box itself?
So the box is very interesting. It's just kind of a plain box that looks to be fashioned to serve the purpose of a ballot box. It's got several slots in it, as you can see, and they're labeled by the counties. So if you were from, say, Cuyahoga County, you would put your vote in here. Inside, you can't really see it, but if you shine a flashlight in there, it is partitioned for each of the slots. When they conducted this voting, they didn't have secret ballots like we do today. This was all conducted in the open. So everyone could kind of see how you voted. And so it's kind of no surprise that the results were unanimous for John Brough. 60-some votes, 100% of the vote, goes to the Republican candidate, John Brough.
All right. And who ended up winning the election?
He ends up winning by a bit of a margin, or by a slim margin, and Hayes credits that to the Union soldier vote, that he won so much of the Union soldier vote. His results, the results in Hayes's company here, are not that uncommon. The whole regiment that he's part of votes 100% as well. But even the quartermaster was happy about this. He broke open a ration of whiskey for the Union, he said.
Well, I know the 1864 election, a lot of people credit the soldier vote for really tipping Lincoln over McClellan. That one makes sense here in 1863. That would have been the same thing. I mean, for the artifact itself, I see there's a couple, looks like there's little pieces of glue that are on, or little pieces of paper that are on here. What can you tell us about those?
Well, we've been a museum for a very long time. We opened in 1916. And one thing that you can see with some of our artifacts is how we've changed over the years. If you look here, you see some of this typed paper, very old, that has since been peeled off. In the 19-teens, 1920s, 1930s, it was fairly common to add a description of the artifact, and you literally just glued it right onto the artifact. We don't do that anymore. So sometimes it's a little disheartening to see that on an artifact, and we try to restore them the best that we're able to. But today, this artifact would just have kind of a hidden place, maybe just an accession number. Sure. And that's it. All the rest of the records would be digital. Yeah.
Well, I mean, interesting to see, though, how the curation profession has changed over the years. You know, one of the things we've talked about on the show before is historiography, how the actual telling of history has changed over time. Interesting to see the way that we keep and store physical objects has changed over time as well.
Yes, and I'm sure that whoever has my job 100 years from now at the Hayes Presidential Museum will look back at some of our practices and kind of raise an eyebrow at them too. That's just how it goes.
It's an ever-changing profession.
Yes.
Right. This has been fantastic to see. I mean, this is a war to protect the American Republic, and this is the first war that soldiers in the field got to vote in, congressional elections, gubernatorial elections, presidential elections. What does it say more about democracy than to have the people fighting for it be able to vote in their elections?
Yes, exactly. They get a voice for the cause that they're voting for. And for a lot of their perspectives, they were really concerned that the Union Democrats were traitors to their war effort, to what they were serving for. And that's why they felt so strongly about this. And they got to express that through the ballot.
All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you for having us out here today and showing this.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you to the Hayes Presidential Library for having us down here and getting to see an artifact like this. What more direct connection can you have to soldiers in the war than when you cast your ballot and thinking about them casting their ballot during the middle of the Civil War? If you get a chance, come on down, check out the collections here. You won't be able to see this ballot box, but there's plenty more here to check out, believe me. For Civil War Digital Digest, I'm Andy, and we'll catch you next time.